As I understand it, based on attending one optional lecture at university and a lifetime wasted on foreign language films, the history of feminism in France is basically just a long list of French women doing things their male counterparts have been doing for decades, but getting guillotined for it. And so there was something fitting about how things fell in Po, as France's female 15 pulled a performance so French you could almost hear the steam pouring out of Guillaume Giraudot's ears, in a performance not dissimilar to one the men put in later that afternoon, in, for me, what was the best game of the entire weekend, up against an England side with both the kind of bloody-minded, undying tenacity the British choose to believe characterises their nation's history, as well as the reality, heading overseas, nicking something, then running away. This was a proper test match, a tooth-and-nail encounter that saw two of the top four sides in the world scrap before a packed crowd basically baying for blood. The kind of game where defences being on top was to be celebrated, as a violent French side clashed with a tireless England in possibly the most compelling game of rugby I've seen since last year's World Cup. So, just how did England scrape their first Six Nations win in France in 8 years and put themselves in pole position for this year's Six Nations title? In what was a truly iconic feat of Frenchness, La Bleu changed their halfback combination for a 9th game in a row, moving Pauline Bourdon, possibly the best scrum half in the women's game, to 10 for no discernible reason. This was something England targeted in the build-up to their opening try. Incredibly talented though Bourdon is, she isn't used to defending the 10 channel, so off the scrum 5 she reverts to her old scrum half instincts and drifts too hard onto the ball carrier instead of covering the space, and lets a very simple switch to Scarrett get the better of her. However, France scramble really well, drag Scout to ground and reorganise pretty quickly. Yet they can't stop England generating quick ball, and so this lovely lazy pass from Katie Daly-McLean allows Zoe Harrison to drift onto the ball, to almost come onto it in her own time. That then lets her float into a tiny gap between French centres Vernier and Condé. She isn't interested in trying to go through it, but to try and focus the pair on her and create space. She then times the pass for the second Condé fixes and fires in on her, allowing McKenna to put Abby Dow away in the corner. However, we began to see some discernible reason to that halfback decision once France got hold of the ball. On a most basic level, it allowed them to get the outstanding Laure Sanzus into the team at 9 without dropping the obviously world-class Bourdon, but it also added a real fluency to their play. When Sanzus went off on a trademark snipe, France would effortlessly slide Bourdon into 9 and the ever-excellent Jessie Tremoulier into 10, meaning even when in either 22, their game need not suffer. Likewise, while she's perhaps not a fully rounded game manager from fly half like her opposite number, Daly-McLean, there's an absolute crispness about how Bourdon brings runners onto the ball. It allowed France to generate huge amounts of go forward and momentum, meaning they were able to march upfield cleanly without Bourdon ever needing to take on much of the kicking. And when they did need to thump it, they could just bring in Tremoulier to hoof the bastard up field so far. The pair played with so much pace and energy, began to think maybe Amy wasn't the only cocaine amongst the two dressing. I'm better than that joke. This interplay did lead to a handful of moments like this, however, as frustrated 9 Bourdon spots a gap and points and screams for Sanzus to snipe. But generally, they slotted together so nicely you assume France are now just going to drop the pair for the rest of the tournament. However, despite the fluidity France were able to generate, they only managed to score one try through Sanzus herself, because England's defence was excellent. After the opening score, France's defence also tightened right up. Look what happened the next time England tried to bring Scarrett in on a tricksy little ball. But whereas France defended with aggression and ferocity, there was a far calmer passion to England. Instead of flying up and smashing their opposite number, everyone simply waited and worked. England made 155 tackles on Sunday, 90 more than their male counterparts, but not anyone's counting, and did a brilliant job of slowing French ball consistently. There was no niggle to England's defence. They just got back up to the feet, back into position, and made the next tackle. And ironically, it was this work rate that led to France's only try. Having finally wrestled some momentum after the Red Roses dominated the first 20 minutes, France get an opportunity and get going forward. Sanzus keeps pacing the attack by going full damn bigger and offloading through her legs. The attack then slows momentarily and Sanzus waits for the attack to organise, and England work hard to cover the space. However, Zoe Allcroft overfolds around the breakdown. She works from one side to the ruck to the other side. France captain Gail Hermé notices this and fires herself right through the gap before offloading to Sanzus for the score. This isn't necessarily a mistake or a defensive misread, so much as it just being a case of Allcroft working too hard. She was focused on stopping the next threat before realising the last one hadn't quite been dealt with yet. And this defensive urgency continued throughout the entire game. France spent much of the second half folding England's scrum in half and hanging around their 22, trying to reach that white line but being met with a wall of cocaine and other England forward. The Red Roses managed this period incredibly well, not only because of their defensive resolve and coming up with key turnovers such as this by Daley McLean, which is incredible for a fly half, but also because of how they played the referee. By my count, there were 3 or 4 moments in which many referees may have brandished a yellow card, but Sunday's match official, Amy Barrett-Ferron, is an extremely experienced referee at this level, having been nominated for World Rugby's Referee of the Year award in the past, and England will have known she isn't one to give a card without a fair warning first, so they pushed the laws. Here, France are on penalty advantage, they're on the line, but England find themselves completely exposed. There's nobody on this blind side. It's a definite try if France can get the ball away, so England kill it. They concede the penalty, and they know Barrett-Ferron won't give a yellow because she hasn't yet given a warning. This also eats a minute off the clock, kills the chance, and gives the team a breather. It was worth the risk. However, as the game ticks on, they re-engage and stop this. France spent basically 5 more minutes in around the 22 after that call, but the only penalty England conceded was milked here at scrum time. They maintain their discipline when they need to, but flex the laws slightly when they felt they had to. It's outstanding game management. It shows just the kind of killer instinct that separates world-class sides from talented teams. And it's this killer instinct too that took England over the line for the try that ultimately made the difference. England pulled a classic set move used by many All Blacks teams down the years called "Get stuffed, we have the best player in the world," as a superb offload by Amber Reid allowed World Player of the Year Emily Scarrett to explode onto the ball and use her remarkable pace to get between the French backfield and over the line. England had run another move to get Scarrett into space on their previous passage of possession, but 2 slightly shoddy passes took all momentum out of the attack, meaning Scarrett got hit quite hard. However, here, all emphasis is on Reid, and it doesn't become clear that Scarrett is actually the centrepiece of this move until it's too late. She comes in from deep, hidden from French eyes, and picks an absolutely phenomenal support line that's so well timed. Because this was a cruel blow to a French team who had been on top at set piece and going forward around the park, a try against a run of play that guillotined their chances, condemning them to another typically French outcome. Bonkers and bold, ultimately not quite enough. This result puts England in control of the competition as they head to Glasgow next week, ready to take on a spirited Scotland, but it'd be fools I tell you, who rule France out just yet. Based on that one lecture and a bunch of bullshit movies about people smoking, from how I understand it, they might not have history on their side, but never write off a team who can switch on world class for no discernible reason. So that was my breakdown of what could well prove to be the title decider of the Women's Six Nations. My plan had been to get a video on Wales-Italy from the Men's Six Nations up first, but then I had both problems with getting hold of footage to actually edit, and you know, that turned out to be the best game of the weekend. It was the best game I saw last week, so there we go. I hope you enjoyed it. My plan is to try and do a roundup on games in future for the rest of the tournament, rest of the women's tournament. Unfortunately, just because of the sheer amount I've got to get through this week, I won't manage to cover the fact that Italy beat Wales elsewhere, and then Ireland beating Scotland as well. I won't manage to cover those, but I will be moving on to, as I say, Wales-Italy from the men's tournament, England-France from the men's tournament. I hope we get that up on Thursday. Later this week. I'm hoping to get through as much of them as possible and break as many of them down. I've been through all the games at least 2 or 3 times by now. I've written a lot of them, and a few of them I'm just waiting on. I'm working on footage and everything. I'm working on actually editing the videos and getting them together. I'm looking forward to seeing the sun and eating, and perhaps at a real push, sleeping at some point in the next few weeks. But I hope that you enjoyed that and you enjoyed the other stuff coming up, and you're ready to... words, they're tricky.
Congratulations once again. You're the player of the match. I'll let you go join your team. That's what
Can I just give a little shout out? In my opinion, Zoe Oldcroft was unreal today. I think she probably should have deserved it. She's worked her absolute backside off, so I think this one's